Oh, defrost push button for rear window defroster. So it's not operated. Now, interestingly, they are exactly the same relays. There's no relay here, but I swapped the relay that was there to where what I think is a defroster. So let's see what happens now. And then just sort of lever it up. And the issues that I used to find where the contacts are, which is just here. Now, if I close the little lever, oh, I think we've done it. Right, you lucky people, what I've got for you here, the one on the left, I got it connected to the power. Yeah, it's giving me a fluctuation, you can see that there. I've got open circuit. No, I haven't, I've got 7 ohms. Aha! And the brown one is the new one I've just put in. It's already working! You can see it's starting to demist. She's demisting, what can I say? It only bloody works! Let's move on, 'cause it's time to move on. So it's getting to that time of year, we are getting a little bit of moisture. So look, as you can see, I've got a whole window full of condensation. I wonder if you guys get that environment like California where you're cruising down your Santa Monica Boulevard. I bet you don't get that. And I certainly don't think you're gonna get any ice forming on the window. I don't happen to live in a nice warm tropical climate. Well, it gets warm on occasion, but I live in Scotland. So not only have I got to deal with a little bit of moisture on my window, I've also got to deal with ice. Oh, bloody hell. Obviously the window's not dropping down because it's frozen. And in the winter months, that is really important that my rear demister, the rear heater, is doing its thing. It's drying out that window, it's warming it up. So I'm going to break the problem down. Thoughts are, it could be a relay which is behind the rear passenger on your American car, or if you drive on the left-hand side, but for me on the right-hand side, basically it's the rear right compartment. So there's a relay, I think there's a couple of relays in there, gonna have a look at that. I'm also gonna try and get the panel off the back there and have a look at the connections. There'll be 2 connections and it'll be going to all these lines at the back there. So stick the old multimeter on, see if that's doing its thing as well. Fortunately, the side mirrors, they work great, so we can rule that out. My gut feeling is it's got to be a connection. The car sat for quite a while not being used during the old COVID months, and I think maybe moisture's built up. Maybe it's those connections that are actually wiring and powering that rear demister. Let's do one thing at a time and let's see how we go. So if I push the old demister button, no matter how long I wait, unfortunately the rear window doesn't seem to clear. However, the side mirrors, they're working nicely, and in fact if I touch it I can feel that they're getting warm. So if you go down the list and find the most sort of obvious menu that's related to the issue you've got, air conditioning is probably the one that we want because it's to do with the temperature, etc. The car, I know it's not air conditioning, but nevertheless it's probably linked the defroster in that menu. So let's go and have a look. So if you go into view data, it should tell you a little bit more about what it can see on the vehicle. And as you go into the menu, you'll hear the car sort of regulate certain things. There'll be relays that move, etc. So here we go, look, blower regulator, that's good. So that's the internal fan that produces, you know, air to the vents, to the window and to the face and the feet, etc. AC control, I'm not interested in that. Multifunction. Let's have a look. Keyboard tests. Just keep going down the menu and just see if there's anything there that's talking about the rear heater there. I'm going to have a look at keyboard outlets and see. Keyboard tests. Let's have a look at that and see what that's all about. Oh, here we go. Defrost button. Oh, defrost push button for rear window. So push button for rear window defroster. Okay, well let's select both of those. So we go to defrost button. So let's select that one. So check that box, and of course we want the push button for the rear window defroster. Press F2 to start. Push button for rear window defroster. Push button, so it's not operated. I'm going to go to read fault codes now and see what comes up. As I'm waiting, I can hear the vents moving. It's going through a cycle. All right, so here we go. We got 4 faults. So as I push the rear defroster button, I can hear and feel this relay clicking. So it's definitely clicking. Now, whether the relay is actually doing its thing is another story. However, I'm getting voltage at the rear window, so it would suggest that it is. This relay, I'm not too sure what it does, but I'm going to have a look at that one as well. So this relay here is the one that was doing the rear defroster. I'm just going to put a little one on it. I'm going to put an L on it there for the left hand side, and I might as well put an R on that one for the right hand side, just in case they get mixed up. Now, interestingly, they are exactly the same relays. So I'm going to swap them. I'm going to put the one that was next to it, which I'm not too sure what it does. It's got exactly the same part number on it, and see what happens. Okay, so there's no relay here, but I'll swap the relay that was there to where what I think is the defroster. So let's see what happens now. So rather than sitting around waiting for that rear heater basically to get warm, keep putting my hand on it to see if it's getting warm. I just don't know, because it's not really that sort of frosty type of day. So I'm going to get the iCarsoft out. I'm going to see this time if when I press the button, if there's anything that changes, because before it was just saying nothing. So in view data, there was a little option here that says keyboard test. It's not that instinctive, but nevertheless, this is how I managed to find the button, which is for your rear defroster. There you go, defrost button. Well, that's going to be, I think, for the front button, you know, when the air goes to the vents. Push button AC, self-explanatory, but look, push button for rear window defroster. So let's select that, press F2 to get it to communicate. And I'm hoping now it'll give me an option. It says not operated, and you can see the light isn't on. So if we press it now and see, it's not doing anything, is it? Let's try it again. I can hear, oh, operated. No way, it started, oh, it stopped. But that came on briefly there. Let's try it again. I can hear the relay. Now it's not doing it. That came on just now, didn't it? Oh, operated there. Now it's working, and now it's off again. So it's as if, I wonder if I should check that relay, because why would it come on momentarily and then go off? Operated, and then it kicks off. Let's go back and open up this relay. I want to double check something. So here's the relay here. Now I've had a fuel pump relay exactly the same as this. Had it on an old Mercedes CLK, and it looked like there was nothing wrong with it. But when I took it apart, there was a tiny bit of dirt stuck on the little reed switch. So it could be that. There's a little bit of trick to taking the cover off these. You have to kind of have about 4 hands, but you can just about do it. So what you need to try and do is sort of get one side and then just sort of lever it up. Like so, and just work your way around. You'll find it will sort of keep closing on itself, but you can do it. You can, oh look at that pin's bent there, look. Well, she looks pretty good. I mean, this is going to be a genuine Mercedes part, I would think. There's the number there, 002 542 3019 by Tyco. This would have been on the car since it was made 20 years ago. And the issues that I used to find was where the contacts are, which is just here. Now they look pretty good, just inside there. So this is a little solenoid. It will pull the contact over. If you get a continuity test on this, so usually here you can see on the back it will tell you which pins go what. So the outer pins has a switch, and that's your solenoid in the middle. So it's got numbers on it, you can just about see it. So you've got 50, 85, 86 and whatever that one is, can't see it. So on here You can see the numbers. There is 86, 87, 85, and that's 30. I said it was 50, but it's just my eyesight. So 30, and I want to look at 30 and that last one there, which I think is 87. So there's 30 and there's 87. So if I touch these two, I should get a continuity when I close the little lever. So let's have that. Let's give that a go. So there's 30 and there's that there, and there's 30. Now if I close the little lever, which is here, it should go beep, which it does. So it tells me that the relay, the contacts look good, otherwise I wouldn't be getting a decent continuity there. Let's try the other one. That should beep anyway. Yeah. So that's the power going through this coil, those two pins. I mean, it might just be that the relay was needing a bit of a clean. The pins look pretty good. I don't see much wrong with that. So what I notice is if I keep my finger on the button, and if you watch, it says not operated. If you watch that there, it goes to operated. Now, I've got my finger still on it. You can see that the light is out. So it's telling me that the button is working. But as soon as I let go, that should then say not operated, which it does. But I wonder if it's just actually sensing the fact that when I push the button, it now knows that that's working and it says operated. There we go, operated. Bonjour. Right, let's try and find out what is going on with my rear heater demister. Looking at this here, get my old glasses out so I can see what I'm doing. It all looks pretty good. I've actually got a tint on this. It came with the car. It's a nice little tint. It's not too dark. It's actually just a sort of very subtle. I like it. Now, looking at the lines here, unfortunately for me, all these lines, obviously, they're on the other side of the tint. But I'm hoping none of them are going to be broken. But I did notice when it was working that the upper section here actually wasn't clearing as well as the middle. So maybe there are some of these tracks which have got a slight break on them. And if they do have a break, then I'm going to have to somehow cut into the tint and seal them up. But first things first, I'm going to get this plastic trim off. Haven't taken it off before, so we'll see what's involved with that. Got my handy little removal tools. Links below if you want to know. I've got to be careful because I've seen people before. A good friend of mine was using one of these and he was levering against the side like this, which is intuitive, is what you would do. He ended up bloody cracking the window on the front screen. So just take your time and yeah, maybe put a cloth in there. It's a good idea. I'm gonna get my cloth out. They should just pop off. Sometimes I feel like throwing my hands up in the air. I can see some wires coming in the corner here. Good. Aha! There's that bit there. I know when I had this car, when it was sitting over the COVID period a couple of years back, there was a lot of condensation in here, and I'm wondering if some of the connections have got a little bit rusty, a little bit verdigris on there. But let's get the trim off and then we'll have a good look. Because I haven't taken this trim off before, I can see what the issue is. I'll show you in a minute, but some of the little pops that should come out aren't coming out, and there's a little tool that you can use, something like this, but you've got to be careful with the window. I don't end up cracking that because they're very expensive to replace these, so I'm going to have to try and glue those back on. Oh, yeah, unfortunately I'm not able to get the clips off this coming off the glue, so I'm going to have to glue them back on. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second when I get this trim off. Let's get in there. Oh, I think we've done it. Well, what I was trying to get the things to unclip is here. These little poppers actually go into holes here, but it's never been off the car since it was made, and unfortunately I've gone and bloody broken them. So I'm going to get my little tool out here, and I need to somehow fabricate that back on again. This is how they should have come out, like that, but I've snapped it. Hey ho, keep going. A little bit of glue on that is going to do the thing. All right, what I've worked out so far, up here looks like it's the antenna, and looking at the connections, it goes to this join here, which means that the upper lines for the old radio. And then the lines at the bottom here, I've unplugged the two connections. There's one, and there's another one on the other side. But if I get the old multimeter out and I touch them together, I'm not getting any beep. So what is going on there? Is there a break? I just don't know. Let's keep going. Right, so these connections here, which you can just about see, this side and there's one on the other side, that's got to be the power which is giving heat to the rear demister. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to touch inside here, and let's see if I can get 12 volts showing. Open a little multimeter. Right, so plug in here and let's touch the chassis. What do we get? Oh, we're getting 12 volts. We're getting power. So that's good. Well, let's touch the other side and see what's going down there. And we got there. And we have nothing on that side. Got power on one side and not on the other. What? Maybe that's the earth on that side. Maybe that's why. Okay, that's a good point. Right, so let's put power back on here again. Plug that in, right? I'm going to just pull it out slightly so I can get my probe on it, and I'm going to touch the other side and see if I got 12 volts now, because that would then tell me that there's a circuit. Yay! I've got 12 volts! I've got power. I've got power going to the window. So that must be what it is. Looking at it, I've got power coming in here, 12 volts. It runs through the window, going by this little lead here, and it comes out the other side. I've just proved that because when I disconnect this cable like that, there's no power going there. So the good news is power is running through my little relay, it's going through the window, it's going over to there. Well, that should mean it works, shouldn't it? Because it wouldn't connect, surely. Okay, let's keep going. Maybe these connections just needed a wiggle. Maybe that's all it was. Because these cars are getting old, they're 20 years old. Right, I'm going to put that back on again. My rear heater's on, and with all this condensation of me breathing in here because it's a horrible day, maybe we'll start to see that clear. I might be lucky. So, reading some of the schematics, it talks about putting a multimeter across the two leads. One there, and you get that in there. Okay, we have nothing. Move that a bit so we can see what we're going down. So, touching the two leads, we don't have anything. We have got nothing. So what is that telling me? Does it tell me we have a break in the cable? There's nothing there. Touch the two leads together. Then we get a bit of impedance, a bit of resistance. So, unfortunately, what I think that's telling me is that somewhere between the left cable and the right cable, we got a broken track somewhere, which is a real shame. Right, something's a bit odd here. First, when I was touching the two sides, I was getting nothing. I was basically an open circuit. And you can see that in the video. Now, if I go back to just buzzing the two cables, when I do that again now, I'm getting here we go, I'm getting 1.3. It seems to be sort of coming and going, which is odd. See, now I'm getting 1.2 ohms, which is strange. So if I put that back onto there, I've got open circuit. No, I haven't. I've got 7 ohms. I've got 7 ohms now. That is odd. Yep. I have 7 ohms. So what I've got here, I've got a couple of meters. I'm lucky enough to have 2. So I'm going to have one plugged into the power, so you can see what that is. And I'm going to have the other one doing the impedance across the 2 wires. Right, you lucky people. What I've got for you here, the one on the left, I got it connected to the power on the left-hand side wire. I've got 12.15 volts. Now, if I start the engine, I'm expecting to see that go up to the normal charging voltage, which will sit around about 13.9 and 14 volts. So let's try that first. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press the de-mister button, and I should expect to see that that will then go to 14 volts. Let's try it. There we go. So we're getting 13.9 volts. So there's a 12 volt supply to that rear de-mister, but when I press the button, then I'm getting 14 volts, which is interesting. Okay, what that means, I don't quite know, but it looks like there's a power supply always to the rear window. Maybe it's to do with the antenna, I don't know. Right, so this one here, we got impedance. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to touch the power supply on my left. I'm going to touch it over here, and let's see what happens. Yeah, it's giving me a fluctuation. You can see that there. I'm getting 2.5, it's alternating on me. Let's call that 2.9. Now, if I connect if I've just buzzed the cables, see, that gives me anything. I'm getting open circuit. So it means the resistance is very small. I touch them together. Why am I getting nothing? That was working a minute ago. Have I got a loose wire? Oh, there we go. Was that something? I got a loose wire in there? Ah, look. Now I'm getting 43. That's interesting. I'm moving my... Ah! Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I might have a loose wire. I'm seeing something here. Right, I've got a little connection here. Here's a spade connection. I'm going to click that on there. I'm going to put that in my other side, like that. Right, so that one is connected. Good. So we've got a connection on that side. If you have a look over here, when I connect this cable, watch the display there. I've got an open circuit. Now I've got 2. If I move the cable, look. 7, 1.3. I wonder if there's a break in that cable. Let's try wiggling it a bit. Wiggle it just a little bit. Open circuit. And then I bend it. And look, I'm fluctuating. I'm wondering if I've got a break in that cable. There's a break somewhere because I'm getting a beep. So I'm going to take the sheathing off that cable. Okay, take the sheathing off here. Things do wear out, but looks pretty good to me. Yeah, not getting anything. Nada. And give it a little wiggle. Nope. That's a good connection, but oh, did you hear that? I pulled it. Aha! We have got a dodgy connection, so it must be in the back there. I think we're getting somewhere. So somewhere in here there's a connection, and I don't want to break too much of this rubber away because it's bonded in there. It's really is actually part of the window, which is a bummer because I can't get in there without having to take that off, and it's all part of the window assembly. What I might do, I don't know if it's going to work, is I'll lower the roof halfway down, halfway open, see if I can see something a bit more of a connection in there. So here we go, look, here's a half open, half closed, but it's all part of the window assembly, so I'm not going to get into it there. It's arrived. I got this little wire glue. It's basically like liquid solder that you apply to anything that you want to try and solder up, but you can't get heat into it. So I'm hoping this is going to make a nice little connection. Also, I've got a nice bit of heat-proof flexible wire, which I took off an old dishwasher, I think, and it perfectly has a little spade connector. So I'm just going to tweak those out, and I'll be able to then connect it and push it into the existing connection. So there's little tabs inside, you just push those. Which colour should we go for? So let's go for the brown, shall we? Just push a little tab in. There's my brown, pull that through. So now I've got a lovely little soft, flexible cable that's heat proof, that can take the current, push it into the connection on the car, hopefully solder that with my new wire glue, see how it goes. So to recap, just here is the connection which should be connecting all of the lines going across in the heat element to the other side. So I've got 12 volts on one side, I've got the ground on the other, it's a short circuit, it heats up, lovely jubbly, and you get your demisting window. But when I press these two together, obviously they should beep on my multimeter, and if I touch the cable on one side and I touch the cable on the other side, lo and behold, I get nothing. I get diddly squat. But watch, but if I give this one here a little bit of a wiggle, listen, there's a bit of a contact there somewhere. So obviously in here, behind this little bit of the sealant here, there's a connection, and it will be a pad that connects all these lines together. The problem is I can't get to it, but if you look very closely, just above I got the actual bare line of one of the wires, which is here. Now if I touch that and then touch the other side, bingo, I've got a connection. So that's good, and it tells me that all these lines are making contact. So with that thought in mind, if I can actually get my cable, which is the one that I stripped from a washing machine, and if I can get it on there, obviously I'll strip the end, use some of my fancy wire glue, which means I don't have to use a soldering iron, because I'm never going to get in there with a soldering iron and end up probably doing more damage than anything. But if I can get this to stick on there, then maybe I can then connect this end. Once I've got it connected, get that in there, solder it onto the window, push that in there. Let's see if that works. It'll save me putting a whole bloody new window in. What do you think? Right, let's try that. So if you look here, it's very minimal. I've got literally that much there. I mean, it runs all the way along here. I've taken away, because my window's slightly tinted, I've got a film on it, you can see it there. So I've just cut a little bit away. I've got this bare bit of metal here, and my hope is I can get some of that glue onto it. Right, so here we go. You get quite a lot in there. The link's sitting below if you want to see it. But yeah, it's quite a lot going. It says to give it a good stir and use a little toothpick just to make sure. But it looks pretty good. It's a lot more than some of them. I've seen some where they literally give you a syringe, but there's loads in this. So make sure you stir it up and that it's all nice and consistent, and then we'll get it on the window. You can see there, look, I've got a bit of a lump, so I'm going to give that a good stir. Right. Get my little toothpick, got a new one here. I've given it a lovely little stir. It should be nice and thin, it says. It says, just keep building up the layers. So let's go. Maybe I'll put a bit of a cloth down or something here. I took the car out and got it lovely and warm. I made sure that this wasn't damp in any way. So I've gone for a drive, got the window. You can see, look, as I'm talking, this is starting to mist up here. Not because it's cold, but, well, it's obviously me talking and I'm sitting right next to the window. But let's get that in there as much as I can. So they say that this stuff is actually a glue as well as a solder. And he says you can kind of get it a little bit more robust if you want to by adding a little bit of super glue, which I might just do. So I'm going to connect my other little cable on there. You can see that there's some showing there, so all I'm going to do is just trim it down a bit so that I don't have too much showing. See how that looks? That's a bit better, isn't it? I'll put a little bit of tape on there, why not? Good, right, that's that. So that's going to sit in there, like so. Then I just want a nice little bit of slack to get that to sit on there. And I'll support this. There's a little metal bracket which I've got, and I can support this up here. It's going to be behind the trim anyway, so you won't see it. So I'm going to have it sat there, something like that. I don't want too much tension on the cable. So I'm going to trim it here. There we go. Let's get some of that lovely solder on there. Then the idea there is, I'm going to then support it in there. I need to find that little clip. Where did that go? So this clip sits something like this. Was it that way? Or was it that way? Can't remember. Something like that. And then that's going to sit in there. Something like that. Build up this wiring, which is bare now, with this lovely little bit of liquid solder, like so. I want to make sure that that is nicely wedged in there, just like that. So I've got to try and sort of angle it slightly so that the cable is under tension and it's pushed into that corner. I'm just going to push this in here so it's really wedged in against that lovely bit of metal. That looks pretty good. Right, then let's build this up, importantly, with the old glue. There, what do you think? So this one is the one that got a loose wire in it. There's a break somewhere, not on the cable, but on the pad. And the brown one is the new one I've just put in. I'm just going to let that dry before I fiddle about with any of this. I'm just going to test it now with my probe to see if I've got a connection. It says it takes about 24 hours to dry. But look, you can see I've got condensation on the inside because I'm talking next to the window. I am tempted just to turn it on and see if we got a good contact. Yeah, I might even put a bit of heat on there as well, just to see if it will dry. So let's get the multimeter out, and I'm going to touch on the back here and then over to the other side of the window and see. Let's get one probe from one end, one probe from the other, and let's see if we got a contact. So this time I'm going to go into the back carefully without disrupting it too much, and I'm going to connect over here, which is obviously the neggy side. So one over there, that's connected, and let's touch in here and see if we get a beep. Oh yeah! One more time. Sounding pretty good to me. All right, now I'm going to keep an eye on that. I don't want to disrupt it. I wouldn't mind putting a bit of heat on it there. Yeah, I've just disrupted. I see, mucking about with it there, trying to test it. I've actually, even though I've proven it works, I've disrupted it a bit. So I'm going to get a bit more of that glue in there. Right, I'm going to try it and see. You can see, look, condensation. So let's see if then that, oh, hang on. I'm starting to see that that's already working. It's already working. I've just turned that on. Look, you can see it's starting to demist. Let me just get rid of that. Look at that. It only bloody works. Oh man, look at that. Beautiful. She's demisting. What can I say? Look at that. Let's get a close-up on that action. Ooh. Who'd have thought I'd fix it with a little tub of glue and a toothpick? Come on, that's got to be worth bloody replacing the window, is it not? I think it cost me about £6. Links down below. Happy days. Let's get a beer. Brilliant. I love fixing stuff like this, and if like me you also like fixing stuff, my name's Groovon. I've got loads of videos like this, and if you've got a Mercedes, specifically a Mercedes SL, I've got about 60 plus videos. I've just done one recently on that red battery warning indication. Starter battery circuit security component fault, and there's another one. Terminal 30 or terminal 30A short. I'll show you how you can diagnose it, don't panic, and how you can actually get that fixed. If your temperature isn't behaving itself, there's a little tiny sensor fix, which I've just done a video on as well, and that's inside the little dome light there. Would you look at that? Sensor N70B, inner operation temperature sensor value unreasonable. And then the whole plug will come out. So that's the legs pushed through. There's one. It's spinning! If you listen, we should be able to clear the fault code and I'll have a working temperature sensor for the car. Maybe your boot actuation, that old soft close, that's giving you problems. Got a brilliant masterclass, how to get to it, how to strip it down, how to repair it and put it back in again. There's the infamous actuation module. Goes to a roller ball at the top. Like so. They're tough, but you can do it. Just pull them straight off, just like that. There's your actuation module. And once these become loose, then it loses the air out of this actuator. Then I had that issue and I've just sealed it in that place. Or perhaps you've got a problem with your starter motor. I've just done one on that. How you can take the starter motor out or yourself, put a new one in. Oh, one starter motor. Oh, bloody hell, that is so tight. And sometimes doing these things, you need to be a bit creative. This is in the old one. You can see these are the brushes here, and I think that's all that's really worn out on this. It's that distance that was stopping me getting enough room to push the starter motor off the vehicle. Yes, that's better. I think we're on for a winner. Diagnostics is my main thing. Loads of videos on diagnostics, and I show you how you can do, for example, the Vario roof. So turn the ignition on. Alright, so as you can see, actual gear is park, and yes, we're in park. It's Y3 6Y modulating pressure control solenoid valve. So let's move that. Let's go down into R. You can select them all in one go and then press F2 to start. Now, if I press S for sport, you go to 1. There we go, it's gone to 1. Actual gear, park, emergency running, no, selected gear by means of selector park, target gear. Right, so tap it one more time, that should go obviously to 3. And there we go, 3. How you can work out which switches are working, which switches are maybe giving you issues, how you can lubricate the roof, that's an important thing. And of course in this position here, you can access the underside here, you can see the bottom rubbers. You can see that this is now opened up. The window is in the half open position. You can see where it pivots in the middle. So you've got access to this strip here. You can clean underside, and importantly these here. And on the other side, you've now got access to it. Get them all nice and clean on the metalwork as well. Go all the way underneath here. And likewise, on your command screen, they're getting old. The car's 20 years old for me. I bet you didn't know you could strip that down, replace the screen yourself, put it back together again. So if you haven't subscribed already, why haven't you? Do it before it's too late.
Let's move on, 'cause it's time to move on.